What is good, guys? It's Ronald, also known as Youcapper from sportsmemo.com. Welcome to another episode of Let's Cap. Got my guy KB Sports here. Always reliable. He's been with me whenever I have like scheduling issues, and there's times when we schedule those shows with him as well. And hopefully to be doing more baseball content with you moving forward. We got a nice, fun baseball show idea coming together pretty soon. KB, man, how you doing? How you doing today?
What's up, baby? Yeah, man, I'm like the call to the bullpen. You called me, man. I come over. So I'm glad you hit me up. I'm doing great, man. 6-game baseball slate today.
Yep.
It's actually a breath of fresh air. I'm not going to lie. I break down games every single day, and doing a 15 and 16 game slate, sometimes it's just too much in my head.
Yeah.
6-game slate's really nice, man. I'm glad
Yeah.
to be doing it with you, brother.
Yeah, I'm excited too because obviously the NBA is gonna be slowing down real soon, and these baseball slow days are gonna be real, like you said, a breath of fresh air.
Yep.
Real quick though, I mean we gotta talk about the NBA. We do have to talk about NBA. I know we're gonna be primarily focused on MLB, but game two yesterday, it was a big showing by the Warriors. They showed a lot of physicality. I think a lot of us really expected that bounce back for them to not lose two in a row at home. What were your thoughts on what happened yesterday?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I was the Warriors was totally the right side, obviously, but it's one of those things. Is the Warriors just going to get pounded by the public every single game, Kabang?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I talked about this before about how Golden State really is that team that no matter what happens, they're likely going to get the most tickets and money put on. They're just, to me, they're just like when Brady was with New England, right?
Yep.
Every game, they're always going to have the money and the tickets on their side. So you can't really look at these ticket percentages and money percentages and be like, I'm gonna fade the public because really you don't know if you are or not because the sharps could be on that side.
Right, and like the books, they're going to have the difficult time with this series. I feel like with the lines. So I think, yeah, I mean the Golden States are going to be favored. I think going forward. But looking at the
Mhm.
whole like recap from the game, like you mentioned, the third quarter. I mean, a huge difference. Golden State outscored them 35-14. The rebounding as far as this game was pretty even. I mean, it's just one of those games. Just the third quarter got away, and then that
Mhm.
was it for Boston. And then you look at that first game of Boston. I know Draymond Green kind of said it too. You had guys just going off in that first game for Boston, and they ran away with it. And now you only have Tatum really performing in this one. Brown did pretty good as well too. But other than that, it was pretty non-existent, and Golden State just ran away with it, man. What are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, you could see the physicality that Golden State brought initially. I think the plan was really to kind of put people in bad positions, right? Just like how they were able to take Brown out the game with the fouls. Obviously one of them may or may have not been a phantom call to put him out the game for a
Right.
little bit, but that looks like it was the game plan, and they did a good job of that. They were able to limit that, and it's interesting to note that Boston was able to win with Tatum not playing well offensively in
Yep.
game one and being more of a facilitator. Now you have him as the main point scorer here in this game, and they struggle. I think
Yep.
that's one thing that's really interesting to note here. Another thing that's interesting to note is, we talk about people talk about the depth of Boston, and really after these first two games, we're really just seeing Derek White, as the
Yep.
primary guy there on the bench here. Game one, Poole and those other guys struggled off the bench, and they
Yep.
showed up here in the latter half of the game. That's the one thing that I want to continue seeing in this series here. How are the benches going to respond?
Yep.
Obviously we talk about trend wise Celtics, they don't lose back-to-back games. Same thing with Golden State. With that said, let's look ahead to game three here. What are we going to expect as far as you know changes here on Boston side? What can they do to get this game back?
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you mentioned, the depth. We need to see that from Boston. And again,
Mhm.
they did open up as favorites, -3.5. Warriors coming in as dogs, +3.5. Money looks like it's coming in on Boston right now, the big money, only
Mhm.
as far as what I see. And then Golden State are definitely taking the tickets right now. So I
Mhm.
would be interested to see what this line does by Wednesday. I think it's definitely going to move a little bit. Big money keeps coming in. I think the books really need to be careful with how they line the game because, like you mentioned, Golden State's kind of like the Tom Brady of football. Like, people are just going to go to him. Golden State's one of those historic runs. That three, I mean, Curry, Thompson, and Green, I think they're going for the record as most final, like as far as a trio, most wins ever in next game. I'm pretty sure I saw that. It's definitely one of those games where I got to dive deeper into. You know, I'm a prop guy, so hopefully I can find some props. I just hate when there's a blowout. Props get affected, definitely. So maybe look for some unders here, because last game I was on a bunch of overs and it didn't work out well, brother.
Yeah, you know, one thing to note too in this game coming up is I watched the post game pressers with Tatum and Brown and some of the other guys, and one thing they brought up a lot was the physicality that Golden State brought into this game, right? And if they want to match that physicality coming back to Boston, that's either going to be like obviously tougher defense. And one thing with that, you're going to be like, all right, well now I'm going to look towards the under, right? Again, I like that under in game 2. I figured they weren't going to shoot lights out like they did in that fourth quarter, and if they didn't do that, that game would have went under. But to continue on that is if Boston comes back with physicality here, and the refs are going to be another key component to this game again, because are they going to start calling those fouls evenly? Are they not going to call the fouls? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things.
Draymond Green should have got double tech. Any other regular season game, he would have been out of that. He would have got another tech for that little kick push off that he did, and he would have been. But I like the refs doing what they like. They knew the situation, and they weren't going to throw a guy out in the first half. So I tip my cap to them. But you're right. What are we going to get? I do like your take on the under, though, man.
Yeah, I do like the under there. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we still gotta got some time to figure out what happens and how we're gonna bet that game. But man, Christina, I mean these parlay props and all those stuff, they get killed on these blowouts. So that's one thing to be aware of here. But hopefully we don't see more blowouts. I love these close games because it brings a lot of it brings a fun aspect to the game.
And it's good for TV too. And as far as like new fans watching the NBA playoffs, like if we see a blowout, that's not good for NBA. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. I definitely feel it. Yeah, I'm excited for that game, game 3 in Boston. We'll see how that goes. And with that said, let's dig into the MLB here. First game we're gonna talk about here is the Diamondbacks and the Reds. We have Bumgarner against Hunter Green. From a surface level, I think people are gonna be like, all right, let's fade Green here. Reds are 2-8 in his starts, but Green is a legit strikeout pitcher, and D-backs, they're notorious for striking out. Let's talk about that real quick, KB. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, we can start with Hunter Green first. Again, taking on the D-backs. If you look at Hunter Green, everybody should probably know this by now. Number 1 prospect for the Cincinnati Reds, 22 years old, 230 pounds, 6'5". He brings in a 2-pitch arsenal, command, 4-seam fastball, and a slider. He throws his 4-seam fastball 53% of the time, runs it up there 99 to 100 miles an hour. It's very nasty, and he breaks it off with the slider 42% of the time, and nobody's hitting this pitcher. 124 average. He already has 41 Ks on it. You break down the D-backs lineup even more. It's one of those things. They do struggle with high velo guys. A guy I wanted to compare him to is this Strider guy for the Braves. He throws a high velo fastball, basically just like Green, 98, 90, or 99 miles an hour, and then breaks it off with the slider. He had 7 Ks versus the D-backs. I think it was like a week ago. Only in 4 innings, he had 7 Ks. We're seeing a Hunter Green prop at 6.5. You said it right. D-backs are striking out a lot. Second most in baseball, just above the Braves, 9.22 times per game. It's definitely a Hunter Green K prop. Even if he gets hit, I know what people are going to say. You can look at this 6.19 ERA, the 2-7 record, but he is their top prospect, and he is going to have some of these games where he comes out and shoves. And if anything, I do think he can do that versus the D-backs. This total of 10 scares me a little bit. I think the line's kind of telling us both pitchers are going to get hit. And if you look at Bumgarner, he has been getting hit, and I think his basically what he's been coming in with his cutter, guys are catching up to that. Again, we've seen his last 4 starts have been awful. Again, and just one of those things. I trust this Reds lineup to hit him pretty good. They don't do too amazing versus lefties, but they don't do that great versus righties either. And looking at Bum's advanced stats, again, almost a 5 FIP. His bat FIP looks terrible. His swinging strike's terrible. Everything he throws is getting hit hard. He's a scary guy. His walks are coming up too. He's allowing some home runs, 5 in his last 3 starts. I definitely want to take my shot on Hunter Green here, and then I also like the K's a little bit more though, bro. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do. So it's interesting because Reds obviously not one of the best teams in the league, and then we talk about how Hunter Green is a strikeout pitcher, and the Diamondbacks strike out pretty, at a high rate. One thing because I actually like Cincinnati here. I think it's weird because they're the favorite here. You don't like to typically see teams like this being a favorite, but in this situation here, we're seeing a pitching matchup that benefits Hunter Green, right? Another thing to note here, when we look at these home and road splits, we're seeing the Diamondbacks against the righties on the road. They're not doing that well as far as average wise. I mean, they're hitting with a little bit of power here, but if Hunter Green, he came out of a game where he just struck out 8 in I think less than 4 innings, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And even if he lasts, even just like 5 innings or so, here we could see, him surpassing that 6.5 strikeout. And on the batting side for the Reds here, you can see how he's doing at home, how they're doing at home against lefties. They're hitting at a high rate here, close to 300, with a 6.14 run support here in a full game look. Obviously, I think one thing to note, the high total of being 10, 9.5, and 10, you're seeing that bullpen action here with a 5.22 ERA in these situations of road and home split. And that's probably one thing that you want to probably stay away from at that point. Yeah. And that's probably where a lot of the runs are going to come in, because to me, in my thought process here is that I think Hunter Green is going to pitch exceptionally well against the Diamondbacks, and if it does go over, it's going to be after he leaves.
And we've seen him before too. Like everybody thinks, you can dog him 6.19 ERA, but his advanced numbers look good. His lefties, you always think lefties hit righties better. He's actually struggled worse with righties, so that's going to come down a little bit. And he's had games where he's gone 6-7 innings and only allowed 1 earned run versus the Jays, the Pirates. Again, he's very capable of having game. It's one of those things. If his fastball, if guys are just like hitting his fastball or laying off the slider, then of course he can get in trouble, because you can just like get ahead on that fastball, and that's the dangerous part. But like you mentioned, even if he does get hit, I think the Reds can out hit the D-backs here. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like we said here with that home away split, lefties versus righties, I do like the Reds here. To me, I think I want to stay away from the bullpen and kind of just focus more primarily on the first 5 here. I would probably take Reds first 5 money line, and I really like the Hunter Green over 6.5 Ks here. I think it's a really good matchup for him specifically. I think this is one of those things where you kind of just pick your spots, right? Because you look at, like we said in the beginning, at service level, you want to fade Hunter Green because you're just looking at 2-8. The Reds being 2-8 in his starts, but this is a spot where you just look at the matchup and say, well,
that's where we're getting a little different. Again, 74% of the tickets coming on the D-backs kabang. So again, it's a public dog, and I absolutely hate that, especially on a Monday slate. So I love that your take on the Reds, and I think it's a good spot. And again, you're right. Like, Green might do bad, but at the same time, he can easily come out here and shove. And I definitely have a good feeling too. He's very capable of doing that, and he's going to settle in. This 6 ERA is not going to be a thing come next month.
Yeah. Well, one thing to note too, especially with these young prospects, these teams trust these guys to bounce back. There's a reason why he's still starting even with a 6.91 ERA. Yep. He's going to bounce back because they trust him, and I think this is one of those spots that he's going to prove himself.
Yeah, and if you look, I mean, Joey Votto's seen Bumgarner 20 ABs. He has a 350 average. Nick Santel at the top of the lineup. He's been extremely good off him. Brandon Drury, he's going to have a good day off Bum. So, again, a lot of guys in this Reds lineup has faced Bum because he's been in the league forever. And then a guy like Hunter Green, nobody's faced him. Not a lot of film on him. Again, it's a good spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel that one. Let's move on to the next one here. We got the who do we have? Red Sox and Angels is up next here. This one we have.
It's an interesting one, Kabang.
This is a good matchup.
Angels 11-game losing streak, Boston 4-game winning streak, bro.
Yeah, so we got Waka and Syndergaard here. I mean, we can kind of see where their ERA and the WHIP is here. One thing to know is, Syndergaard is coming off a bad start, and historically, I don't feel like he's been a guy that puts bad starts back to back. So I think we're going to probably see a little bit of a bounce back here from a Syndergaard. as far as being on the mound here, I think one thing to know is how Waka has pitched also on the road as well. Let's see if I could bring that up here.
Yeah, and I can kind of just talk about it a little bit. When you pull up he's definitely worse on the road. I already know that. But one thing I did want to mention is his advanced numbers. You can look a bit. I'll give a huge positive Michael Waka. He limits barrels, guys. He does an extremely good job with that 43% ground ball rate. Again, when he pitched on the Cardinals for 7 years, I know this guy, I feel like way too good. And he's not this type of a 2.4 ERA type of guy. He has a 4.07 career ERA. His FIP this year matches his career ERA. We should definitely see some regression coming. And when I look at this game, it just screams like, why the hell are the Angels the favorites? They've lost 11 games in a row. Boston's on a 4-game win streak. Finally, about to go over 500. It just screams. I'm going to throw out bullpens too. You know I don't like messing with bullpens. But how do we not take the Angels' first 5 here, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with those two takes. I think we're regression on Waka, and then also Syndergaard bounce back here. Like we can see here, a lot of you can see for their team for Waka here in their starts they're 3-1, but his ERA is at 4.12. I think one thing is that he's just getting a lot of run support, and you're getting a different, and it's a little bit different here on Syndergaard's side. At home, he's 3-1, but he's performed well as far as being on the mound. So. Same record here, but you look at the stats as far as being the pitcher, it's a little bit different here. So I think it really depends on how you look at it. You don't want to just look at records from the surface level. You want to see what happened in game, right? Because when you're just looking at record wise, right, trends, you're only seeing records. You're not seeing the stats underneath what happened in the game and things like that. So that's one thing to make sure you want to bring up.
Yeah, and the splits are huge. Michael Waka's always been worse on the road ever since, even with the Cardinals. Again, since 2020, a 5.43 ERA, a 1.4 WHIP. If anybody doesn't know, that is terrible. Syndergaard, always great at home. I agree. I mean, like if it's one of those things, if you're like, oh, Angels are on a losing streak, Boston's on a winning streak, you just want to pass. Totally respect that. And that's a good take to do it. But again, I'm going to kind of go against I do think this is an Angel spot for sure. Everything looks too good. And again, they faced Michael Waka before. Waka came out there and he did pretty good versus them. But I love that they've already faced him and they can come out here. They know what his approach is going to be. And hopefully the Angels can get more than 3 hits in 5 2/3 innings. And I really do think that happens.
Yep. No, I 100% agree on this one. I think we both like them here, the Angels to win at home. I said,
my one negative, Kabang. Sorry for interrupting. My one.
No, go ahead.
Trout, man. Like when he's not hitting, it's a damn hard thing to get. And Ohtani just right there too. It kills the vibe of this offense, man. So
yeah. No, I think like this part here is just really interesting to know is that they're both 3-1, right? Waka is 3-1 on the road when they play. When Waka pitches, when Syndergaard is at home, they're 3-1. But this part here is the amount of hits and the runs that they're giving up is where the difference comes into play. Yeah. And so, like I said, just don't look at records only. You got to look at the everything beneath it, right? Don't just take things off the surface level here.
So I think that's why we're here, man. That's why we're here, doing a little bit more in depth, helping people out.
Yep, exactly. So last game here is the Mets and Padres. Mets Padres here. This one's a tough one. I think as far as I think both pitchers are pretty good in my opinion. And Snell's just coming off his fourth. This is going to be his 4th start of the season only, but he looks. I feel like he's progressed every single start. Yep. So far, and I think that continues here against the Mets. I know Mets is one of the best pitching teams, hitting teams in the league right now. What is your take on this one?
You know what they struggle with a little bit though? Lefties. No, they struggle with lefties, and if you look at their splits, again, they're hitting 273 off righties, a 762 OPS. Phenomenal. Versus righties, it gets way worse. A 241 batting average, under a 700 OPS. I could keep ranting about that. But my one thing is Blake Snell. And I'm so glad you brought it up. He's been getting better every single start. He just pitched at Busch Stadium on May 31st versus the Cardinals, a team that doesn't strike out. Again, second best in baseball, not striking out. They work pitch counts. This man went out there, 6 innings pitched, allowed 2 hits, again, 2 earned runs. That was unfortunate because the walks just hurt him. That's my only one negative about Blake Snell, but he's going to get better. He's never been a huge walk guy. So I agree. I think Blake Snell, he's at home. And if you look since 2020, 2.66 home ERA. I love this spot for Blake Snell and the Padres. The Mets do worse, and I really do think Blake comes out here and shoves. If you look at this line, it's kind of telling us that too. Public's all over the Mets. I love the Padres, and I love Blake Snell, what he does. Again, he's a lefty, but he's one of the best lefties in baseball. Brings in a four-seam fastball, a slider, a curveball, and a change. Has strikeouts on every single one. Not one person has got a hit off this slider yet. This changeup is filthy as well. It's one of those tough spots. The Mets are going to have a hard hitting day, and I think the Padres can get to Cookie Carrasco, and I'll tell you why. Because he is pitching a little bit better than what the stats suggest in advanced numbers. And 5.06 road ERA since 2020, even 4.5 road ERA. He always struggles on the road. Both sides of the plate are hitting. Lefties are hitting 241. Righties are hitting 269. Yes, you can look at his 3.63 ERA and say, yeah, he's doing great. And I'll tip my cap. He has had some good games, but he also has games where he comes out and just lays an egg and allows 5 runs, 8 earned runs. He's done it multiple times, and I do think the Padres can beat the Mets here. I'm not saying that they're going to crush Carrasco. I'm just saying I think the Padres can out-hit the Mets in this game, and I'll take Blake Snell over Cookie all day long. What about you, Kabang?
Yeah, I think Snell continues to progress here and become a better pitcher. I think his numbers are a little inflated just because of the amount of pitching he's done so far this season, right? This is only his 4th start, like we mentioned earlier. 0-3 in those starts, but I think that's gonna flip pretty soon. I think like you said, one thing that to note is that he just hasn't been getting a lot of run support in his starts. That's another thing there. I think in this spot here, like you were saying about Carrasco, I think there's going to be some regression here. I think his numbers are look a little bit better than what they should be. In my opinion here, they're going in opposite directions. I think Snell is going to continue to grow and become his numbers are going to come back up a little bit, and Carrasco is going to come back down a little bit. And that's what's going to happen here. Like you said, I don't think this is going to be a runaway game. I think this, to me, it actually looks like an under game, even with the low total. So in that case, even if, I think both of us are looking at Padres to win this one, it'll probably be more like a 2-3 game or a 1-3 game, something like that.
No, I think
in my opinion,
you said that perfect. Yeah. And one thing, Kabang, is Padres first 5 for me. This is an official play and one of my favorites of the day. It's simple for me. I'm throwing out the bullpens. They're evenly matched. I'm only worrying about starting pitching and the hitting. The Mets hit lefties worse. Don't overthink it. And then the Padres, lefties and righties, are going to be able to get to Cookie Carrasco. And if you don't like a side or you don't want to mess with it, look at Blake Snell's K prop over 6.5. Again, like I said, he brings in a 4-pitch arsenal, has strikeouts on every single one. Nobody's hitting his slider or his changeup. He just had 6 Ks versus St. Louis, 7 Ks versus the Brewers. Again, he's getting up there. And again, I just mentioned 2 teams that don't strike out a lot. And the Mets, they're one of those teams that don't strike out a lot either. But looking at their last 3, 10 times on average, I like that too. I think that's a sneaky spot if you're too afraid to get to a side. What about you, Kabay?
Yeah, with that strikeout prop, you can see here that they strike out a little bit more against lefties. So that's already something that is a positive for Snell. And you want to take into consideration that he's striking out, about 6 per game that he's pitched. You got to remember that his first game, I think he pitched less than 4 innings.
Yeah,
right?
He did. Yep.
So that's something, another thing to look at. What actually didn't we look at his K prop until you just mentioned it? What is his number set at?
Yeah, it's 6.5 plus 110. So we're getting pretty good value on it. And if you look at what Snell's done, it's tight. But if you look at what Snell's done, again, 10.8 K per 9 this year, but only in 3 starts, like you mentioned. If you look at his recent years, always 11 or 12 Ks per 9. This guy has elite stuff, and his spin rate on his pitches literally gets me I just mouth because it's amazing. For real. The shit's so good. Yeah.
So I actually really like that now that you mentioned it with Snell and his K prop, because if we're seeing this as an under game, right? That means no one's gonna be blowing out either team. And that means I think Snell is gonna continue pitching past the 5 innings possibly 6 to 7 innings in this one because they want to keep him in there. Like we said, in his first start, he didn't even pitch 4 innings, and he's going to continue to progress, right?
Yep.
He's going to build his arm up as the season goes on. So it's likely that if this is a game where he doesn't give up a lot of runs to start, he's going to go on beyond a certain amount. So I could definitely see that K prop hitting. I like that a lot more now that we're talking about that through. But those are the 3 MLB games. Did you have anything else to add on that one?
No, definitely. I'm on both. So I'm on Padres first 5, and I'm on the K prop. And if you want to go, I don't know if this D-backs Cincinnati's game is going to get rained out, because if you look, there's a 43% chance of rain now. So that's kind of concerning. But I'm going to do the same thing with that game. Reds first 5 and taking Green's K's over. Hopefully you go 3-1 or 4-0 again. But I like splitting it up. Like you throw a unit on each. And then again, that's a good way to get a variety, because even if your pitcher gets hit, you can still hit a K prop. I think that's the coolest thing about it.
Yeah, that's exactly that's a really good take right there as far as splitting out your units when you're spreading it out. Because we talk about this a lot, dude. I mean, volume versus no volume, right? In baseball, it's really hard to not play volume because of how many games there are. Absolutely. And how many things you like to look at. One thing to I think let's run through the games real quick, like we just mentioned. I think we're all in agreement. I think we're both in agreement in every single play,
which is crazy.
So far.
We never do that. You know what I'm saying?
No, we don't. And it's funny because obviously we don't cap the games together, so we're not. It's not like we're telling each other what we like. So before the show, I texted you and I was like, "Yo, I like these games," and you're like, "Oh shit, I like the same ones." Exactly. Boom, boom. Yeah. And the way that we cap the games, and we talked about this real quick on your spaces that you ran, and you're going to continue to run spaces every day now, and I'm excited for that. Is that we look at games in different angles, and when we are able to line up, it makes it so much better and gives us more confidence to play these games. So I love the fact that we can do that. Just running through the games real quick. We and I think we're running them first 5 in all of them.
Yeah, right? It's one of those things, like it's still early. It's only start of June. And again, bullpens, we just don't know. Like your breakdown can go to shit once the starting pitchers are out, and then it just becomes whatever the manager wants to do. And if the matchups are bad, it's hard to predict those. So yeah, I'm throwing out bullpens, Kabang, if you're good with that.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, Reds. So we're gonna go Reds first 5, and then we're also gonna go with Hunter Green over 6.5 Ks.
Yep.
And then in the next one, we're gonna take the Angels first 5. We're gonna back Syndergaard here. And then on the last game that we talked about, Padres, we're going to take them first 5. We're also going to take Snell over 6.5 Ks. 5 plays in the MLB right now there. And I love every single one of those. And hopefully we go.
2 of those K props are plus money. So again, it's one of those things. You just got to hit one to make a little cash, and then we'll worry about our first 5s, man.
Yeah, like yesterday I went 2-1, but one of them was a plus 160. So even if so I mean that it's always good to have plus money in the MLB here.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I love having you on, KB. Hopefully we're gonna do this more often. Like I said, we have a plan to come up with a new show.
Yeah.
We're gonna call it we're gonna the cycle. Hitting for the cycle. We're gonna hit for the cycle. What's gonna happen is we're gonna talk out 4 plays. We're gonna do a single, a double, a triple, and a home run, and we're gonna base it off we're gonna go by units. So a single is gonna be a 0.25 unit play, a double is gonna be a 0.5 unit play, a triple a 0.75 unit play, and the home run is the full unit play. I cannot wait for that show to launch. I'm just kind of going over the small details for that, and then we're gonna hopefully launch that out pretty soon. KB, I'm really excited for that, bro.
I'm pumped, bro. That's gonna be a lot of fun, and definitely we'll be blasting that out on our social medias, and hopefully some of you guys join and check us out. Yeah,
100%. So this is the end of the show, guys. Thanks to all who tuned in on YouTube and on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you bounce. Also check the links in the description below as well. And as always, I have to end with this. Please remember, whether you fade us or follow us, it's on you to make that call. Good luck on all your action. Till next time, peace.